Taking a look first of all at Lemmings 2 The Tribes. The easiest way to beat this game is to simply save one lemming on the very first level or something like that, and then you can carry that one lemming or perhaps two of them through to the end of the game. And I've known that to be effective most of these levels, but the shadow one that's supposed to be the ninjas, I don't think that's very effective on that particular one. But there is a quarter on level 1, and as long as you beat the quarter, which is usually very easy, then you only have to save that number of lemmings onto the very end of the game. So let's see if we can put that into effect. And we got third place for that, unfortunately, because we didn't quite meet the quota, but we got enough to proceed, and that's all we need to proceed. And then you can see one lemming, one single solitary lemming is now all we need to qualify for the gold medal on this level. And having one lemming means we can do everything with that one lemming that we like, and we don't have to ration everything and juggle things between different ones. We can now save the one lemming, and so let's make him go to that exit. And that's brilliant. So now we can use the map to go backwards and play the first level again and save everybody, and that means we've got gold, and we can save our progress at that point so that we can continue all the way through that level with just one lemming, and that works for most of the levels in Lemmings 2. Desert Strike has a few things that most people don't know, and there are a few Easter eggs in there, and there is one of the guys on the main screen that is actually missing in action, and you can pick up that guy during the first level. He's in a downed aeroplane, and as far as I know you can pick him up, and if you complete the level you get to choose him on the next one. Make our way through to the north of the map, and you can see that this guy is here and he's under attack, so we'll have to get out our chain gun and rescue him, and we can pick him up, and we also get some extra credit also for blowing up his aircraft, because you don't want that hanging around in enemy lines. So now that we've picked him up, we need to drop him off at the carrier in order to unlock that guy, and we'll need to complete the mission as well. Moving on, you can see in this particular location we can use our heavy missiles to blow away something that's guarding this, and that is actually a winch, and that will speed up our winch mechanism from now on. And that's very handy to pick that up, and definitely I'd recommend that on every single play of every single one of these levels. Find out where the winch is, the turbo winch, and that can save you valuable seconds. Now, running out of armour towards the bottom of the landscape, there are hidden health pickups, and if you know where they are you can get 100% health back, and you can take that damage. So here we are right at the bottom of that map, and so if you are taking out the second airport, or if you want to go for the big guns, it helps to recharge before we set off there. And if we get there, we can't pick this one up until we blow away that guard tower, or unless the enemies blow it up for us.
Warning. Warning.
Taking a look at the Chaos engine, it's possible to select a great combination at the very start of the game, and I definitely recommend the Preacher as one of them, and then you can press the space bar and use his weapon, which is a first aid kit, and that means you can recharge your health and you can completely use that to your advantage. And you also got your own weapon as well that you can toggle between, and you can activate that. And another thing about the Chaos Engine is the computer player will always stand behind us unless we are facing the opposite way. So as long as we are facing forwards, he will run behind us and guard our back, but we can actually force him to run out and take on the enemies as well by running into the action and turning around, and that will mean that he is forced to take on the enemies for us. This comes in definitely handy on later levels if you can get that to work. Taking a look at Powermonger now, you can see that most players think that Powermonger is quite a short game based on the very first part of the map that you can see when you unlock it, but unbelievably Powermonger is actually quite a long game, in fact quite so much longer than you would imagine. All of these markers on the map are individual levels, and as you progress through them they will get harder and harder, and so you can make your way north to south. If you tackle the ones on the same column, they will be the same difficulty, but because the goal is to get to the bottom right corner, it means that as you travel further to the right they will be even more difficult. So players say stick to the very left hand side as much as possible and then make your run on the very last level. I've completed Speedball 2 in all of the modes, and definitely one of them is more tricky than the other, and definitely individually powering up players is one of the ways to go, and that unlocks things ahead of time. And sometimes if you unlock things ahead of time it opens up a new layer of things to be able to be unlocked, and it's worth keeping an eye on them.
Get ready.
Definitely go for the multipliers as the first thing you do on every level, and that will multiply the score that you get from everything, and also go for the coins as well. And there are 3 different ways to gain score on Speedball 2. The first one I will cover is hitting the globes in the centre, and if you can get a rebound action, keep on hitting them and keep on hitting them, you can actually hit the players as well, and that can knock them down, and that will mean hopefully you can destroy them and get a few more points. Putting this to the test, I actually got over 300 points in a practice go, trying to concentrate only on the globes in the centre of the screen. Unfortunately on this try I only got 86, so that's definitely the hardest way to accumulate points in this game. The second way and the easiest way is to score goals. That means you can mow down your opponents on the way to the goal, and having done that it should mean that you can eventually knock them out and get some more score for doing that, and that will also mean that the reserves replace these guys which aren't as strong, and so you can just knock them out because they won't have any forwards or goalies in reserve. Sometimes it means the replacement is very easy to knock out, and that means you can score goal after goal, time after time. Putting this to the test, in my warm-up try I managed to get again over 300 points by doing this, simply running for the goal with our best player, knocking out everybody in our way, and as they get weaker we get stronger. But I only got 218 points on this particular try. The third method is to go for the lights and those accumulators, and because we've got double accumulators, we'll get double points for killing people or at least knocking them off the field, and also get double points for the stars as well.
Get ready.
If you manage to light 5 lights, then that score will be accumulated in the bank forever, and you can even run around the other players and concentrate on those lights, and sometimes you can get a huge increase by doing that just by ignoring everybody else, grabbing the ball and then returning it back to the lights as quickly as possible. The only danger is that the enemies will concentrate on getting rid of your score multiplier every single time that they get the ball, and one of the ways of defeating them is to knock them out, and that means that they'll be replaced with a weaker player, a substitute, and hopefully the sub will be a bit weaker, and it means you can simply run around those players on the field if you have the speed, and definitely I'd say the speed is the most important thing to get, and the power is secondary, and yes, you can always run towards that goal in an emergency. That's over 300 points scored on that particular try. Moving on to Dynablaster, or Bomberman, or whatever you like to call this. This is a 101 explanation of how to milk the game, and this was actually scored during a warm-up try when this was played, I think, in the Lemon Amiga Games competition. And for this you will need the exploding bombs, of course, with the bomb trigger. And at this point I've got a number of bombs that I can put down. You'll need at least 3 of them, and by pressing that spacebar you can blow them up with the bomb trigger. So what I've finally done is cleared this particular level, and now we can use this to blow up, and we found an extra bomb. So I think we've got at least 3, and maybe even 4 and 5. And now we've completed the level, we've got plenty of time left, so the next mission now is to use our bombs to uncover that exit. Having uncovered the exit, it's time to milk the enemies from the exit, and to do that you'll need an exit trigger and you'll need 2 bombs as well. When you press the space bar, the exit trigger will not blow up the other 2 bombs because it's on a different line, and that means you can trigger guys out of their home. And let's try it with 4, and once they are triggered you can use the other bombs to kill them, and as long as we stand out of the way somewhere you can do that, and you can get all of the score and the score multiplier for destroying those, and you'll get a different batch of enemies coming out of there every single time. Let's try it with more bombs. It doesn't really matter as long as the rest of the bombs don't get triggered by the exit trigger. And blowing up that exit, you can do it with 3 if you only have 3 in the bomb trigger, and you can do it with any more than that. You can see this is the quick way to do it. Simply hide around the corner. There are any number of combinations that you can employ in order to get these guys pouring out of the exit whilst you still have some time on the clock. Of course you can't leech these things indefinitely because you have a time limit, and unfortunately, well, you can't leech the exit during the level either. You can only do that once. If you manage to hit the exit gate and you haven't completed the level, you can hit it once and get some enemies out of there, but then you can't milk it at the end. You can hit the exit an infinite number of times at the end. If you've hit it during the level by mistake, then you can't milk it like this. You only get 1 set of enemies, and that's your lot. So you have to avoid the exit and only hit it at the end. You can see we're running out of time now, and this is me trying to get some more score. You can see that we had 1,000,000 points when we started this, or somewhere near 1,000,000.9 or whatever it said, and now we've got over 2 million. So as long as you can milk the exit on these levels, this was definitely important during the games competition, and because there is a time limit, it's not leeching, it's simply milking the exit. As the time ticks down at the very end of that level, you're going to have to get into the exit gate, and if you mess it up placing bombs here, there and everywhere, well, maybe that's not going to work, and you have to get into the exit before that time runs out, otherwise you can't qualify for the next level. And let's see what happens when you do that. Well, then you get loads of enemies poured out of everywhere, and I think if you hit the exit gate during that time, then another load of enemies will pour out of there. But unfortunately, having done that, sometimes and most of the time it renders the level incompletable, because unknown to us, yes, this would seem an opportune moment to milk the level as much as possible, but unfortunately not, because if we hit that exit gate, it means that one of these enemies often spawns in the scenery and we can't actually get it to blow it up. So let's just clear up the last lot of enemies from this. The time has now run out, so we need to clear all of these enemies in order to get through the exit gate. Then it will start flashing again, and unfortunately, well, we've got the move through power up, so we can move through things, which is great, and we can move through here and blow it up. So now the exit gate is not flashing. Why is it not flashing? Well, that's because this game is bugged, and right at the bottom, I don't know if you quite saw that, but right at the bottom there is an enemy, and we were enabled to blow that up. And that means that I had to restart this entire game again by pressing escape. Taking a look at fire and ice, there are quite a number of secrets in this game, many of which we found out in the games competition, and I definitely recommend getting the puppy on this particular level before you face the first world boss. Get that to the exit, and then what you can do is to trigger a bonus level, and to do that you can simply hit this block and jump up upon it. Anybody who remembers playing the demo level in the Amiga Power cover disc, this is, as far as I know, the same bonus level that we got on Amiga Power. It doesn't contain any music, and if you aren't careful you'll die in the same way. So it doesn't have any music whatsoever. This is the OCS ECS version that I'm playing at the moment, and finally we can get up there. And this is now the CD32 or the AJ version, and you can unlock the exact same bonus level, only this time it actually gives us a map, and this bonus level at the very top of it has been expanded with a few more platforms and an extra dog as well. One quirky thing about this one is we can see snowflakes landing in the background, and yes, it is snowing on this particular level. That's an effect that you don't get in the rest of the game unless you know about this secret bonus level. And to climb up here, the whale always seems to spout just before and just at the end of its duck, so if you can jump out about here and then jump up about here, you should be able to make it, but actually timing that is pretty difficult. So finally we've got up there, and if we run now to the other side, we'll not only find some more enemies to kill, and we can also release a lightning bolt as well. That's pretty amazing. And so let's pick up now some extra snowflakes that we're going to need, and on the other side of here we should find an extra puppy and also an extra life. This being the extended CD32 version, you can see some extra bonuses, and on the OCS version you might think, what is the point of those things down there? You can't even get them. Well, if you do get them by mistake or deliberately, that will take you on to the next level, and so that won't kill us. In fact, that will just skip out the end of this level if you wanted to rush on through it. And definitely, if you want the most lives possible, it's good to pick up the puppies on every single level. And I didn't think on this level that doing that was even possible, but it is actually possible. If we run backwards and try not to get blown up by the lightning, we can find a puppy and some bonuses, and the aim is to bring the puppy to the exit, and that means that we get yet another extra life. And if we're on full lives at the end of the level, or if we carry those over or something like that, we'll get a huge bonus in score. And I didn't know that, but yes, if you enter a level, I think with maximum lives, and we've only got 7 lives at the moment, I think 8 is the maximum, but if you have more than that, maximum lives, and you send the puppy in there, it will give us a massive bonus score instead. But all this one is going to do is give us back the full amount of lives. And so if you press fire wildly on the puppy, it will actually run out in front of us and help to defeat the enemies. And so that's what you have to do, press fire wildly for the puppy to activate, and that will run out ahead. And if you manage to get the crocodile sequence correct, you can jump over actually the penultimate one and jump onto the last one. And you can see on this particular level we can jump straight from the start straight to the exit. And that takes us on to the next level, and definitely if you want to rescue the puppies, first of all, then you go along the battlements and you find those hidden mysteries. And on this one it isn't giving us any help, but it gives us an extra life if we collect that which is hidden, and there are extra warps as well which are hidden. Some of those we found during that Amiga Games competition. One of my favourite levels is actually this one, and this seems to be kind of an Aztec level. And this forest, you have to trigger the first enemies off over and over and over again in order to milk them out and not get killed. But if you keep triggering off these starting enemies, it means we can collect the key pieces earlier on. That's 2 collected now, so it's easy to jump backwards from that platform, and now we'll need to trigger them off again. Sometimes you need to trigger off quite a few of the starting enemies before you get all of those key pieces, and so you have to go back and do it again until you are comfortable and certain that there are no more, and that means that you can continue with the rest of that level. And don't rush the level, otherwise you'll die needlessly like I'm doing at the moment. Moving on to the next level, and there are only 2 jungle levels in this game. You can see I'm playing the CD32 version at the moment, I think, with those backgrounds, and you can see that you can jump straight through this hole. And that's important because it reveals a puppy, and that's a free bonus puppy. That's not the same one that we get on the level, that's a different one. And if you climb up these beautiful waterfalls around this point, it will give us a ladder, and if we don't kill this chameleon by mistake, we can send the puppy into that heart and get another life, and then when we respawn we'll get another puppy, and if we send that to the exit we'll get another life. We failed to get the first one to the exit because we rushed on through it ourselves, and so in order to get the second one through we'll need to not destroy this bridge. because shooting at the bridge will destroy it, and sometimes it's important for going backwards in the level. If we haven't got enough key pieces, we'll have to get through this bridge and go backwards in the level. That means we'll simply have to jump over the enemies and not press fire, which is pretty difficult, but once they've fired they are fairly safe, and hopefully, well, if you get killed, obviously you can jump straight through them. So don't blow up the bridge. That means that once you've destroyed the end of level boss, you can get another life from that puppy. Platformer Tearaway Thomas. There are tons of hidden warps that take you through the levels and tons of hidden bonuses, and if you find this Tweety Pie, that will take you on to a hidden bonus which I found, and there are a few hidden bonuses that I managed to find, but not too many, and these are on the first few levels. If you find something out of the ordinary, like a sign with a worm hanging around on top of it, and that's pretty crazy. I wonder what that does. Well, that reveals yet again another hidden section. We can just duck in under here and find that, and that gives us the quote that we need of gems early. That saves us rushing that level. Woody's world, it can really help to destroy the enemies before you climb these steps, because sometimes they'll respawn, and when you respawn on the level, you'll respawn directly on top of them. So you have to be careful not to respawn and not trigger another enemy. And now we can fall down this area, back through the door, and hopefully back at the start of the level. And at the start of the level, you can see that in this particular case we can jump through and reveal a bonus area and even a secret exit door, and we can also reveal hopefully a power up. That means we start at the beginning of the level again, all powered up, and sometimes power ups really matter in this game. Hopefully you've found all these bonuses, or we did during the Lemon Amiga Games competition, by wandering into these hidden areas and finding those. It is possible, if you have the right power-ups, to go up there and trigger them and continue with the level. And in the King, you can go into the King room, but also you can go backwards in the level. You can trigger certain things off that you can only reach with the King, because the King can jump further than any of the other characters in the game. That means you can now reach higher platforms and reach hidden bonus areas. So let's run backwards in the level as the King, and now we get to this part of the level. We can simply jump up through the landscape, and if we take our time and hopefully jump up through here, jump twice and then jump onto the second heart, that means that we can get high enough to jump across, and that will mean that we jump over onto the top of this level, and that will mean that we can jump over, and that reveals a hidden area which we can get to, and also a bonus door. And that means that we can collect all of the coins on this level, all of those coins that seemed inaccessible before. Yes, every single coin on every single level can be collected, and I'm not quite sure, but over here I think there's a bonus. Let's check it out. Some more hearts and a power up and a star that we've got already. And on this particular section there is this area which contains a few coins, and I haven't managed to locate how I'm supposed to get there, but those are the only coins on that particular level that I actually haven't found how to get to them, and all the rest is possible. So somehow it is possible. In Test Drive 1, it's important to memorise the pattern of the other drivers, and during the game's competition people even wrote that down as well, particularly the early levels, and all you need to do then is to memorise that and then veer over to that side of the road every single time, and that means that we can avoid the danger. By far the fastest car is the Ferrari, but not far behind that it actually is the Lamborghini. So the Lamborghini turns just a little bit better, even though it hasn't got quite the top speed. So if you're a novice, go for the Lambo, and if you are a complete novice, there's always the Lotus Esprit, which means you should be able to get out of most trouble. But with the Lotus you can only get maybe 200,000 points at the end, and with the faster cars you can get a much higher score. And it is possible to get around the final car without slowing down, and players have done that. Unfortunately I didn't manage to get through to that on this particular playthrough, and again, staying in the middle of the road can help in Test Drive 1, but it can also help again in Test Drive 2 that we saw when we reviewed this game. Simply align that up with the 40 on the dashboard. It means we are completely invulnerable. Line the centre of the road up with the 40, and as long as it's between the 30 and the 40 we are safe from cops and other vehicles. If you are trying to employ that tactic against the computer, however, you'll have to watch out for rocks in the middle of the road, because rocks in the middle of the road will make us break something. It'll break our gearbox, and if we rev that up it'll blow up our engine. And you'll have to also watch out, of course, for the other guy, so rocks definitely are to be avoided if you're playing this. And a harmless rock, yes, definitely. If you see a rock, try to brake or even go down to neutral or something and try to veer away from that, because rocks are a menace and rocks can kill us very quickly in this game. I think this is an expansion pack that I'm playing at the moment, or perhaps a homebrew, and there are plenty of home brews that came out. And if you type in AERF, that's the cheat code, that will mean that you can no longer complain about the frame rate. And I'm playing this in NTSC mode at the moment, and I've put the cheat code in, and that means that it gives us full frame rate and also full acceleration as well. And that means that in Test Drive 2 we can really put our foot down. Unfortunately it's still not smooth, but at least it means that we can drive the car quickly and get some kind of speed out of this engine.